Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Time now for us to dig into the papers, let you know what they're saying. We're joined by Liz Asari, Deputy Commissioner at the RTI Commission, Deputy Chairperson at the RTI Commission. She'll join us shortly for that conversation. But this morning, as usual, we have a stack of papers: Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, Daily Guide, the Finder newspaper, Graphic Business, and more. And lots to talk about. We'll be talking about the economy and that latest downgrade as well, because Moody's has also downgraded us in terms of our credit worthiness, and it has dropped us to CAA2, junk status. I'll be telling you a bit more about that later. But for those of you who followed the conversation yesterday as I was interacting with some people in Kaneshie Bishop, and you know the story if you didn't follow it just briefly. Some people had closed from church. They met up with some others and they were going to eat wache right at the Bishop School in Kaneshie. They crossed the road and there was this police officer coming on a motorbike. They slowed down for him. One person went ahead and crossed the road. And guess what? This police officer, just felt that shouldn't have happened, accosted the people, started insulting them. And they did not take it lying down. They also asked, hey, what have we done? Well, that led to an altercation, but one-sided altercation, because this police officer immediately went forward, took out his side pistol, his firearm, and popped out a bullet, shot. Fortunately, it missed the leg of one of the victims. In fact, the person who was targeted at, the person we decided to call Kofi, and hit the ground. We went there yesterday on ground to cover that. And now it is emerging that, so what used to be PIPS, the Police Professional Standards Bureau, located at the Nima Police Station, came to the Kaneshie Police Station where a report was lodged. They were led by one ACP Cuthbert with two other inspectors. They took the victim, one of them, because there were about three people, back to the scene, asked for a narration, and they basically said they would take up the issue and get back to him. We're going to follow this matter. I know you watched Ghana Police Service because they watched me on air yesterday, and that is why they ended up calling this person who had been affected from the Police Professional Standards Bureau. I know you're watching today as well. I personally lodged a complaint with the Ghana Police Service about such behavior months back. Nothing has been done about it. We'll follow this one to its logical conclusion. And if nothing is done to Che Pepra, yes, we know his name. We have the details of his motorbike, which we are not going to put out. But interestingly, it is coming out, emerging that this Che Pepra apparently works at the Jubilee House, which is another matter of interest. But we'll be bringing you more details as they emerge on this matter. Let me say a very good morning to Liz Asari. Good morning.
And how are you?
I am well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm getting better. I'm trying to relax a bit. It's difficult. I'm trying to rest because the more I try to rest, the more work comes. So.
that problem. The more you try and run away from work, the more the work follows you. I'm facing same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really difficult, but let's not push it to the point where the body has to force you to shut down. You know what that means?
Exactly.
Then you fall sick. Anyway,
so
I'm sure you
probably ran away soon.
Exactly. I'm sure you followed the narration that I just gave. A very sad incident.
Yes, I did. And actually, I'm beginning to get real angry because there's too much lawlessness in the system. And we claim that we are under rule of law, but there's few people who think that they are above the law, and therefore they can throw their weight about.
Right.
And I think that these people need to be reined in. I mean, the law must be made to work, and nobody is above the law, not even Mr. President. Everybody has to fall in line. And so if they're not doing so, very soon they might see an angry people rising against the systems that are not working. And if the people rise against the systems that are not working, it will be a very chaotic and very difficult situation to handle because people are really angry inside, are trying to hold down their anger. and these things that happen just makes it even worse.
They just make everything even worse. And that very point about, people flouting the law with impunity. Imagine a police officer.
Exactly.
But in this instance, while he was after, doing everything and by the way, I forgot, after shooting, he actually slapped one of them, gave him a very dirty slap. And while he was moving off, he said to them, look, you can't do anything to me. There's nothing you can do to me. The sort of sheer impunity. Exactly. I think we've empowered these people or made them think that they're there, once they are there, they have power over us in terms of lording it over us, in terms of rather than serving us. And maybe, Liz, just to wrap on this, some weeks back, and I put this out as well, I saw a post and it really got me thinking. Not just about our politicians, but our leaders generally. Way back in school, if you were a prefect, you would get more food, more this, more that. And you could basically get away with quite a lot of things because you were a prefect. The person made a post about how the systemic problem with our leadership starts from there, where, people think that, for example, one prefect can come to the dining hall in a boarding institution, take an entire bowl of food and run away with it. Because guess what? He is a prefect. So we create the system of entitlement. And so when these people come into any form of leadership, as far as they think it is some form of leadership, then they take advantage of the situation and they do some of these silly things. I don't know what your take is on that.
Not where I went to school. Where I went to school, if you were a leader, it means that you were setting an example for everybody else to follow. So if you did something like that, you'd be called to order. And where I went to school, you wouldn't even get to be a leader if you were not well behaved, if you were not respectful, if you did not have good interpersonal relationships with everybody. So it's very difficult to picture some of these things happening. And I have seen and I have heard stories about people behaving that way. But where I went to school, no, you'll be groomed as a good leader. Actually, everybody is groomed as a leader. It's only that a few are the ones who are made to have those leadership positions. But from Form 1 to Form 5 to Upper 6, you definitely would at one point in time be a leader. You'd be a class prefect. You would probably have to monitor the ringing of the bell. You have something to do. And even in our dormitories at the time, there was always a dorm prefect. So everybody would have a role and an opportunity to lead and to guide and to help groom. Excuse me. And that's why probably you won't see a lot of us behave that way. Very assertive, very proper. And people would say, oh, you're too chain, you're too prim, bro, call you all kinds of names. But then that's what we should see in all our schools. We shouldn't be grooming prefects to reign with impunity, even in the secondary schools. Because in those early years, if that is what you're made to do and feel that you're all important, then when you come out, that's the same way you will behave.
Let's get into the papers list. The Daily Graphic this morning, the banner headline, "Things Must Change." President urges SOEs, state-owned enterprises, and there's that special supplement on banking, which I'll give you some snippets of. Then there's, "We will resolve all challenges, ECG assures customers." I know you'll have a take on that. And then Cocoa secures $1.13 billion to purchase cocoa. So let's start with the big one. Things must change, but how? President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has directed that the causes of infractions in the 2021 Auditor General's report be examined and the people responsible identified. He has again directed the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, that is SIGA, Edward Boateng, to work in collaboration with the Auditor General to make the necessary recommendations for action to be taken as prescribed by law. The SIGA head should also submit a report on the above directive to the Chief of Staff, Akosua Frema Osei Opare, within 4 weeks. and the president who gave the directive when he met board chairpersons of state-owned enterprises that is specified entities at the Jubilee House in Accra yesterday, also told the board chairman of SIGA, Terence Darko, that the hard-earned reputation and honor of the board members were at stake if things crumbled under their watch. He reminded them of the serious sanctions in the SIGA Act and other laws for mismanagement, negligence, and outright malfeasance. And referring to infractions identified in the 2021 Auditor General's report and the numerous infractions stated on the part of the specified entities, President Akufo-Addo said the report clearly showed an increase in infractions which demanded answers from all the board chairpersons gathered at the Jubilee House. What is your take on this matter? We've been complaining about the Auditor General's report not getting enough traction, being basically meaningless in terms of surcharging, disallowance, proper action. Is this a step in the right direction? Do you expect anything from the president's directive?
If it's not just talk and there'll be action, then maybe it's a step in the right direction. But over the years, it's seen that it's a lot of talk and then nothing happens.
Right.
And then you go back to the Auditor General's report, people will be fingered and nothing will happen to them. And so let's see the presidency take action first. Let's see them crack the whip. Let's see them make sure that people who have caused certain infractions and caused certain losses work are brought to book. I mean, if you don't put their fingers to the flame, we probably won't see anything happen, and it will just be talk, and more talk. I know that some of the people that are in the boards of some of these institutions are men and women of integrity who are honest and loyal. But are they the majority? Let us see us as a people stand up for the right. Right. Instead of just giving lip service all the time. Let us see people bow their heads in shame if fingers are pointed at them for doing certain wrong things or making certain wrong moves. Let's see people being remorseful. And therefore, when you're in an institution where monies have been embezzled, even if you did not embezzle the money, you should feel a part of the downgrade of that institution, and so you should work towards making sure that you are always on top and always above. If we do that, and if we police each other, if we monitor each other, if we make sure that we are all doing the right thing, I believe that our SOEs would be up and running. People are siphoning monies into their own pockets and not caring what happens to the state-owned enterprises, because they would say that work doesn't belong to them. I've heard somebody say that, today I'm not going to work. The place does not belong to us. But at the end of the month, you will collect some money. You will collect a salary, and therefore, are you stealing, not working and getting paid? Is it theft? I mean, we should start asking ourselves very serious and very prominent questions with regard to what we have been placed to do, with regard to what we have been given to do. And we should make sure that wherever we are placed, we are seeing successes, because I want to be associated with an institution that is failing.
Right.
You know?
Interesting point you make there, and of course that's why Mr. President was pointing to the fact that their very reputation as board members was at stake. But let's get into that other very, pertinent issue, crucial issue, in fact. We will resolve all challenges, ECG assures customers. Before I get into the story, have you experienced any of the problems that many people have been complaining about? Have you been able to top up on electricity? Have you experienced any power outage on the back of this?
No, I haven't. Let me say that what I do normally is the moment I load onto my system, I replenish on the card.
Right.
So I haven't run out yet. And even if I do, I have a replenishment on my card already. So I probably won't experience these things. But let me say that
there were people, though, who even in an attempt to recharge couldn't do that. So I don't know That's why I posed the question. Some people already had, I mean, even an attempt to recharge, they could not do that. But I get the point you're making. Do go ahead. You were making another point.
Yes, I said that the inefficiencies in the ECG is coming to the fore. People have complained in the past, but now it is on a bigger scale. So we are now seeing, I think that ECG has not done itself any good. If some of the WhatsApp messages that are going around are true, then probably we have shot ourselves in the foot. Is it that the SIM card that was disabled in the past is what is causing all this mess? If it is, then it means that we haven't done ourselves any good. We haven't done well for ourselves. And therefore, it wouldn't be just the ECG. It probably would be a broader group of people that we should be looking at. And I keep saying that time and again, we don't think through policies. We don't think through the implementation of policies. We keep doing ad hoc interventions. We keep doing ad hoc taking ad hoc kind of measures to solve issues. But we are solving it temporarily. We are not solving it long term. And each time we do that, we compound the problems that would face in the future because we are not looking holistically at the picture. And listening to some of the people who were complaining, moving from one district to another district to try and upload their cards and being sent back, and people who have the app not being able to upload electricity. I think that it is a very bad situation. Part of my family is complaining bitterly because they have stored food in their freezers, and now the electricity has gone out for a week, and they can't eat that amount of food in a week because they probably have stored up for a month. So who is going to pay for the loss of what they have? I mean, salvage perishables when they're stored in the freezer and it defrosts and all that. It just goes bad. So ECG is causing a lot of pain for people, causing people to lose money that they have invested in keeping themselves together. And so just giving them service that you will resolve the issue is not what people are. The issue should have been resolved. Why has it taken them so long?
Right.
Why is it taking them so long to come out with, this is the reason why you're having this, we have seen what the problem is. Why isn't it that the moment it happened, you identify it and deal with it so that people are not made to suffer and made to lose money that they have earned and they have kept and they have invested? So ECG should come again. They should be up and doing. They should be. I think there's too much inaptitude in the work that we are doing. Everybody is doing it statistically. I mean, nobody gets fired for not working properly. Nobody gets fired for not keeping up to the standards that you were employed to do.
Right.
And so everybody is like flouting and flouting the regulations and getting away with it. And the poor people are the ones who are suffering. And if you're providing me a service, you should know that it's costing me money and
Right.
you're not doing me a favor. And so people who are in these institutions should be working and working well and not thinking that it's a government institution, so you do it anyhow and it's okay. It's
Right.
not okay.
And that reminds me of the president's charge as well, because a lot of these state-owned enterprises and others are not performing. In fact, it is below par. But let's look at that story very quickly. So the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, has assured customers that the company will resolve all technical challenges that have interrupted the purchase of prepaid credit. He admitted the company was solely responsible for the inconvenience created, adding that it had put its information technology team to task to restore delivery to optimal levels within 24 hours. Addressing a press conference in Accra yesterday, Mr. Mahama said the inability of customers of the company to load credit on prepaid meters was purely technical. But they have, given a stopgap measure to allow people to charge and pay later so that credits will be given to them, note will be taken, some receipts will be given, and then later when the systems are up and running, then the charges can be dispatched. But there's this story, an opinion, civic realities with Kobi Asma, that is on page 17, and he talks about galamsey, and the title is Galamsey Resurgence. Can we tame this monster? I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty of what he puts here, but there's a caption, there's a little bit that has been pulled out, and it says, quote, "Why are Chinese not doing illegal mining in South Africa where there is a lot of gold? Because they cannot do that there, and the locals don't support such illegalities." This galamsey menace, I just look at it and it really saddens me what it's doing. And I find it really disappointing, some of the rhetoric around it by leadership. But I'll save that list for Friday when I share my blunt thoughts. I don't know where we're headed on this fight, but I do know that if we continue like this, we'll have nothing left very soon. We'll have polluted everything that is natural to us, and we may end up importing practically everything. But let's get into...
Let me just say that there's no fight. If there was a fight, it won't be going on. There's no fight. We're not fighting it. We're not doing anything about it. We are just going around in circles because some of the videos I've seen have pointed directly to certain people who are in high positions. And they're still walking around free, and they're still going about doing it with impunity. There's no fight. If there was a fight, it would have been nipped by now.
All right. Let's take a quick look at the graphic business. You might be interested in this one. So, Bank of Ghana moves to check street dollar, standing task force to ensure sanity. But as some people in the space have said, you can't force the dollar price or the euro price or the pound price down. You would notice that usually the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, has a pretty low rate. But what you find on the street, the real price, is higher. And so this team is hoping to check that street price. But you see, the metrics, what actually is pertaining when that businessman goes for hard currency and engages in business is the reality. And so if you force it down, I don't know, people like, the experts have said, we'll find a way of going to the original price. But we'll see how that pans out, whether it will not drive people out of business and whether we can forcefully push down the inflation in terms of the depreciation of our currency and try to stabilize it from that angle. But there's also Alisa Hotel Tema opens for business. CD depreciation eases. The story on page 23. This doesn't give me too much comfort because in recent times I've been checking the prices and still, from when it dropped to a little under 9 CDs and a little over 9 CDs, and now shooting over 10 CDs again, that is not on, like some people would say. But why Ghana collects less VAT revenue than payers? Tax clearance certificates are digitized. So if you look at it, Ghana's VAT revenue accounts for 18% of its total revenue. The ratio is lower than the African average, which is around 30%. But don't be deceived, there are different dynamics to this, which explains our situation. Then the GRA aims to raise the ratio to 20% this year and 30% by 2024. The GRA blames low compliance, including underreporting, undercarding, and the non-payment of VAT for the low inflows. So we're going to hike the VAT rate, the ratio, I should say, and of course the rates could also be affected, but the ratio in the coming years, hoping for 30% in 2024. And very quick thoughts on that before we move to the next paper.
So with the Bank of Ghana, I always keep asking, and I've never gotten an answer yet. Why are we always so fixated on exchange rate with regard to the dollar? Aren't there any other things we can do to make sure that the CD appreciates? Instead of always comparing it to the dollar and making sure that, well, if it's the exchange rate, then we'll make sure that the black market is not working. How about looking at other activities that will cause our city to appreciate?
Right.
Like building our industries to the extent that they are viable and they are competitive, and that people would rather purchase made in Ghana goods than purchase foreign goods. Why aren't we looking at making sure that the things that we are producing is cost effective? Right? You realize that when you produce something in the country, the cost of production is pretty high. So already you're placed out of the market. What steps are we going to take to make sure that the goods that we have, the produce that we have, is not sent out and then we import in semi-finished products to finish the product? Why don't we start the value of adding value from the resource that we have? Isn't that a better way of appreciating the cedi with regard to the dollar? Because if definitely we are importing more than we are producing, then definitely the dollar would go up because everybody is looking for dollars to import what they want to produce or to import what they want to sell. And so there are other ways that we need to be looking at it. We need to be thinking out of the box. We need to be getting more creative. We need to be making sure that our industries are producing at a minimum cost so that when they are selling what they have produced, it's competitive internationally. Even in Ghana, it is not. You import things that sell for cheaper on our shelves than things that are produced here. And sometimes the things that sell cheaper on our shelves are of better quality than the things that we have produced here. So let us make an effort to make sure that what we are producing is competitive and the prices are also competitive. And then you can encourage people to be proud in what they have produced. And the quality must be the same or above what we are importing.
Right. Some quick stories to wrap in the next 3 minutes or so. President wraps board's management over AG's report. That's the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Don't let power corrupt you, judges told. And we are sorry, ECG apologizes to customers for system failure. Let's also get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Chinese man charged with attempted murder. And there's a picture there of the victim with plaster over where he was allegedly stabbed. It's his neck. Then Mahama jabs government over $100 million petroleum receipts, and NDC fights NPP over e-blocks. There's also Ghana seeks re-election to ITU Council. Let's take a quick look at some of these. So the NDC appears to be on a collision course with the ruling NPP over which political administration has completed more of the 124 Community Day Senior High School projects. According to the NDC, the government is in a futile effort to distort the record of the Mahama government. And in a statement, the opposition party said the handing over notes of the former Minister of Education under the Mahama government, that is Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman, bears out that the NDC completed and commissioned 46 out of the 124 Community Day Senior High Schools it initiated, rather than the 20-something, I think 29, that has been purported. The former president has also criticized government for using $100 million of petroleum receipts to offset a loan taken up by the Ghana National Petroleum Company, that is the GNPC. According to him, the action by the finance ministry is an illegality, insisting that, quote, there can be no justification for diverting revenue accruing from the nation's share of petroleum resources into any other account outside the Petroleum Holding Fund. There are more details of that story. There was a story in the Ghanaian Times that I forgot to bring up. Doma Paramount Chief praises president for free SHS. And finally, Liz, the Finder newspaper declares state of emergency in mining areas, occupy Ghana to Akufo-Addo. They have made it a point to every Monday remind the president and major stakeholders about the menace of galamsey. And they are demanding details of the 2.2 billion Ghana cedi Auditor General claimed to have retrieved. You know, in recent times, the Auditor General told us that such money had been retrieved. Where is it? That's the question. Quick reactions to these lists, and we shall call it a wrap.
Okay, so with the school, the and NPP, NDC. I mean, for me, sometimes it gets very interesting.
I know, right?
And I'm like, you see, it borders on truthfulness. How truthful are we to ourselves and to the people that we're serving?
Right.
If the schools have been provided for already and you have not put them to use, why are you fighting? If you have built the schools and you're not using them, what good is it to us? And let me wrap it up with the Doma. Let me join that with the Doma saying the free SHS is a good thing. I have seen people who have come out of SHS who sometimes I find it very difficult to use certain words, but you realize that they've been to school but they've not been educated. I mean, they come through school but they do absolutely nothing. When I finished secondary school, if I try to ask them some of the questions that I could answer out of secondary school, you realize that they are empty unless they have been to the A-class schools. If they have not been to the A-class schools where probably you do some learning out of school and it's not everything that you take up when you're in the classroom, then you realize that there's a disparity in students who are coming out of free SHS. It depends on where you went to school. But that is not what we want. We want to see that all of them are coming out of school and being able to be integrated into society. If you're not going into university and you finish CHS, you finish SHS, you should be able to be a clerk in an office, be able to understand certain simple instructions.
Right.
We are not getting those kind of students. No, we are not. And so for me, it'll be difficult to say that the free SHS has really given us something to be happy and to be jolly about, because our students are coming out and they're not the kind of students that we can really engage to do anything. If you want to take them on, then you have to reschool them.
Okay.
Even in very basic things, and it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult sometimes for me when I give them an opportunity. And I say, okay, so you go and draw up this thing. And I give them details, and yet they can't bring back to me what I've asked them to go and do. So it becomes very difficult.
I guess it's pretty problematic, but it's another one of those hurdles we must surmount. Liz, we're grateful that you took the time to join us this morning.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Liz Asari is a deputy chairperson of the RTI Commission. Sports is up next, and definitely we'll be telling you about the FIFA World Cup. Our players had a very good outing over the weekend, but what are the prospects moving into the Mondial? That and more coming your way in sports.